Okay, so welcome back to the Inner Illumination Summit, where we've been talking about how we're navigating the myriad of challenges facing all of us right now. So many things, and at what we're doing to disrupt the oppressive patriarchal systems that are impacting, influencing, and controlling all of us, and how we're illuminating our shadows, prejudices, biases, and privilege, and looking at where we might actually be complicit and even benefiting from and perpetuating the white supremacist systems that permeate and dominate all of our lives, and how we can cut through the chaos and reclaim and embody our intrinsic power and courageously harness the potent creative forces being unleashed across the planet right now, for the benefit of everybody, to serve and empower all living beings and honor our beautiful planet. And today I have the privilege to introduce you to a returning summit favorite, Jocelyn Mercado, who is a visibility and thought leadership coach, spiritual alchemist, and founder of Sacred Planet. She shares shamanic and alchemical wisdom to guide courageous seekers in co-creating a revolutionary new world in alignment with Mother Earth and the vast intelligence of the cosmos. Jocelyn works with visionaries, revolutionaries, and change makers all around the world, guiding them to break free from everything that has held them back so they can joyfully offer their highest contribution to our collective future. Perfect. Well, welcome, Jocelyn. I'm so glad to have you.
Hi, Susan, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Your event it's around topics that are so important and some things that are harder to talk about, right? Some of the shadow pieces and how can we really move through this in the best way. So I love what you're doing here. Thank you for creating this.
Oh, you're so welcome. So let's just begin. So we certainly are living in turbulent initiatory times, Jocelyn, and I'd like to hear your perspective on it all, through your the different lenses that you perceive through, and what maybe speaking into what you feel is being called forth and required of all of us right now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's so much going on, right? We're all really at this time being forced into initiatory circumstances, right? And this happens in many different ways. This may be in relationship, it may be in career, it may be in health, it may be in just knowing we need to move to a completely different place on the planet than where we've been living. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's so fascinating how it is occurring to all of us collectively, and it's occurring through all of us because we're ready for this, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think this is a key part of it, that we are ready, and that there is huge opportunity for us at this time if we dare, if we have the courage to say yes to these initiations. And so
Exactly.
it requires from us a great deal of trusting and surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say surrendering, of course, and those listening already know this, but I feel it's important to say, I don't mean doing nothing, right? I don't mean just sitting back and letting whatever
Of
may
course.
happen, but surrendering to our inner wisdom and our intuition, even if what we are told from within or told by our guides is very difficult to do, right? To continue saying the sacred yes, to continue moving forward with this new plan in whatever form it's taking. Um, and as you mentioned in the beautiful introduction here, to really shift our perspectives on what is real, what is reality, right, is
Yeah.
even changing for us now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how can we be more inclusive? How can we be more open to completely new ways of doing things, in favor of life, in favor of the earth, and all beings on our planet? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yes, there's just these momentous shifts and changes, and we need to really lean into them, right? All of us right now need to have so much courage and so much trust in the much bigger plan that is unfolding, that is working to guide us forward. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll pause there for a moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so I know that you have a deep spiritual connection with ancient Egypt, and I'm excited to hear more about, first of all, what brought you into that particular spiritual cosmology and energy, and then if you could speak into what hieroglyphic thinking is and why it's so important for us today.
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite subjects of all. So I was very fortunate to be able to visit Egypt. It just recently in January 2021. And so this was a situation where I felt just deeply called to go. My partner and I, we both felt very called to go, despite the turbulence of the times. Traveling at that point during COVID was, you know, quite high at that time around the world. Interestingly, in Egypt, the COVID rates were very low. They still are. It's a
Mhm.
really fascinating thing. Egypt is one of these little pockets in the world that has very small rates of transmission, and fairly low rates of people really being seriously affected by it. So it was very
Mm.
interesting being there. It was definitely stepping into another reality to go there. Um, People were in many cases not even wearing masks and gathering, and so it's very very different, kind of alarming at first, and then you settle into that other reality. Um,
Mhm.
so it was quite an education on many levels. I've been called to study ancient Egypt and connect with the Neteru, the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. For several years now, they've just really come through in my dreams, in my shamanic journeying work, in my meditations. Um, certain of the Neteru, such as Isis and Sekhmet, and
Mhm.
others have come through really strongly. And so it was something that I wasn't even studying ancient Egypt at the time that began. I wasn't even very
Mhm.
aware of that that ancient culture, and all of a sudden they started showing up and coming through. And so it's been, for me, that's kind of a surrendering thing, like, okay, well, I see I see I'm being guided in this way. So I
Mhm.
say yes, right? And I follow this guidance. So it led my partner and I to go there in January. And so you mentioned hieroglyphic thinking. One of the key things that strikes me so strongly about ancient Egypt, and that I got to be fully immersed in when we were there, was that the way that the ancient Egyptians did everything, the way that they constructed their temples, the way that they inscribed the hieroglyphs, the way that they live their daily life, it's all in very deep reverence and
Mhm.
refinement and devotion at a much deeper level than we can even fully imagine today. They
Mhm.
really saw the sacred in everything. And it's clear if you study the hieroglyphs, right? And if you study the temples and how they were built, the temples, every single temple was aligned to very specific stars and constellations, depending on what
Mhm.
kind of energy they wanted to bring into that temple, and what kind of
Mhm.
energy they wanted to move through the people who would be standing and holding ritual in that temple. Um, the hieroglyphs, the level of precision and refinement that goes into inscribing, carving these hieroglyphs. This was 5,000 years ago or more in some cases. And the precision and the consistency of, like, this particular hieroglyph, right, across all the different temples, all the different walls of the temples, it's absolutely incredible. So hieroglyphic thinking, one part of that is this devotion and refinement, and I think it's a really important message for us right now, um, to get to really think about what matters most, right? What is connected to the sacred in my life, and what are the things that I'm just doing but are not really contributing to that, right? And how can I
Mhm.
be very refined? Maybe it's, for some of us, it's about what we eat.
Mhm.
Maybe for some of us, it's about the thoughts that we're letting in, right? Am I running a lot of negative thoughts, and how can I shift that, right? To be very refined and to carry much more positive thoughts and a positive vibration in my being. So this refinement and devotion is the one part. Another thing about hieroglyphs is that um, there are many, many layers of meaning in every hieroglyph.
Mhm.
So one hieroglyph could mean a letter of the alphabet. So there were hieroglyphs for every sound. So you can read them just as spoken sounds, like the hieroglyph for water is a zigzag line, and it is also the hieroglyph for the letter N and the sound of N. So those are two meanings, but the water also has the meaning as part of a purification ceremony.
Mm.
And it also has meaning as the river Nile, which brings life. So when you see the hieroglyph for the symbol for water, for example, it has at least 4 or 5 different meanings just that we know of, just that we've figured out in our modern times. And we know that there's probably so much more beneath that. So again, this is a really important thing for us to reflect on, that really everything that happens in the world around us has so many layers of meaning, right?
Mhm.
So the events that happen around us, none of it is an accident. None of it is a mistake, right? The things that are occurring in our life, when we tune in, they're all giving us messages. Many, many, many layers of meaning. If I'm outside thinking about, worrying about my day or something like that, and all of a sudden a bird gets really loud during one particular
Mm.
part of my thinking, it's right, it's a message that says,
Right.
pay attention to what's going through, to what's coming through right now. This is something important.
Mhm.
Or, I've had this happen many times where I've been driving in my car and thinking and wondering what I should do about a particular thing, and a license plate goes by that's like, in one word, answers what I was what I was wondering about, right? So these signs
Exactly.
and symbols and synchronicities come through to us in so many ways. So we really
Mhm.
need to become very refined, really work to raise our vibration, carry a positive vibration, right? Really try to be in the heart instead of the mind as much as we can. Really try to carry those positive thoughts, be sending out prayers, be sending out, love and positive energy, much more than the negative, right? To that refinement, but also just be very tuned in and looking for the signs and symbols and all the layers of meaning all around us.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And what comes to me when you're speaking is, which is why I talk about cutting through the chaos. There is so much flooding our fields right now. There is so much fear and all the different things that can really derail us really easily. And so a lot, some people will say, well, yeah, that feels like spiritual bypassing, just think about the light and be in your heart and all of that. And I don't see it that way at all, because I mean, the work that I do, and I know the work you do, this is about full embodiment. This is about listening from our hearts and also feeling, where colonization lands in our body and what's moving through as we're observing and in the midst of a dismantling around any of that, colonization inside of ourselves, biases that we carry. And I love that you're just reminding us, and the power of our language and our thoughts. So we can choose to be the ones that are helping the tipping point where it's going to balance out more and not have this, this this intense energy absorb all of us and enclose all of us. And so we have this responsibility to do that and notice. And this precision, I'm thinking about the precision of the vibration that from our thoughts and our words. With that precision, we are literally helping. We are so much helping the resonance on the planet lift and stay more uplifted. So I
Absolutely.
just wanted to name that around, the not being about spiritual bypassing, being about embodiment, and then also knowing from that place we can fully have a huge effect, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you put that. And it's so important for us at this time to be holding that highest vibration that we can. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we also
Yeah,
can't expect ourselves to be perfect, right? There are
exactly.
times when we need to go into that emotion and feel it, right? There are
Yes.
absolutely times. My I have two young daughters. They're 7 and 10, and my 10-year-old is. They're both very sensitive, but my 10-year-old is she's super super sensitive, and so we recently found out we need to move and from this house that we've lived in ever since my older one was 5 months old, right? So really, both of their lives they've lived here. We
Oh.
found we need to move, and there's so many emotions flowing through them, through both of them
Mm.
right now, and especially my 10-year-old. And she was crying last night, saying, I don't want to move. I love this house. I love this neighborhood. And so I'm trying to find this right balance where they get to move through those emotions and really feel them, because I mean, that is big, right?
Exactly.
We've got to feel that
Yeah.
in our heart. We've got to let the tears flow. We've got to let
Mm-hmm.
the difficult feelings move through.
Mm-hmm.
But once we do that, it can be cleansing, right? It can be purifying. So for everyone else out there too, right? If you have these difficult emotions, let them flow through. Let yourself cry, right? The worst thing we can do is hold them in and not express the emotions at all and like pretend they're not
Exactly.
happening. That's definitely not the message I would ever want to give. We got to let those
Mm-hmm.
emotions flow through, let them cleanse and purify us. And then once we do that, once we let it be fully embodied in kind of a cathartic, outpouring of the tears or whatever we need to do, um,
Mm.
let the emotions move through, then, and this is what I'm working on with my kids here too, and my own self through this process,
Yeah.
is then
Mhm.
focus on all the exciting things about moving to a new house, right? All the
Right.
fun things. We get to meet new friends. We get to choose a house that has a really, a better kitchen. Our kitchen here has been not optimal, right? We get to have a kitchen with an island in it this time. So right. So then focusing on what do we want to create after the
Mm-hmm.
emotions have moved through it and purified us. What is our vision? How can we, in this very refined way,
Mm-hmm.
and really deeply connected to the sacredness of what we want to create, either in our lives or for the collective, what is that vision? And then how can we hold that vision really strongly and feel the joyful emotions of that positive vision? And then by doing that, right, we've let the negativity roll through, we've let all that move us, and then we've cleansed ourselves of that, and then we can focus on holding this highest vibration for what we truly want to create.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Balancing all of that. Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's not easy, right? We have to have a lot of patience with ourselves through these times because we're going
yeah.
through so much.
Inner, yeah. Inner illumination and inner work is never easy, but so rewarding when we allow this flow. And I agree with you. I mean, I feel like the earth and nature and the world is calling for all of us to not repress. We get when we let it flow, then actually this dismantling and this, you know, this remembering and disruption that's happening gets to happen, and then open the space for this new birthing that is happening for all of us. We don't. There's a mystery flowing. We don't know really what we don't know often. I know that's a term that's used so much, but you know, that's what I like to say, like to be. And it's like, so what is actually right here? I might have been grasping onto this thing that I thought would last forever, had no idea that that would change. I mean, people are facing that all the time. And then being like, okay, so I can feel my feelings around it. And now what? What is right about this? And that really helps me retrain my brain to be excited and be in that visionary state again.
Mhm. Yes,
Um,
definitely. And yeah,
yeah,
the grieving process is important as we see things falling apart around us.
absolutely.
Um,
Mhm.
and also, as we're doing this inquiry that you're leading here, Susan, around how are we contributing? How am I contributing to the patriarchy, right? How have I been buying into this
Yeah,
consensus
right.
trance and actually, strengthening it in some way? We might make some deep realizations that, oh, and might need to grieve that. We might need to really let that
Right.
move through in a deep way so that we can fully release it now that we've made that realization, and then move forward in the way that we want to be living, and the perspective
Mhm.
shift or whatever is needed, right, to fully embody that new way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and one of the, in this dismantling of the patriarchy, a big subject we could talk about a lot. But what I feel like is, I mean, it's like this playbook that we have been conditioned into and educated into. And I would say, especially women, but men and women, that, you know, we're not taught to trust our deepest knowing. We're not taught to let the river flow, let the volcano, you know, erupt and flow out, you know, in us. And I feel like that really is, this is the return of the divine feminine. This is all of us remembering what it's like to be fully embodied in all of us, and not, and grabbing and really being in our power again, speaking our truth, even if it's uncomfortable, being willing to do all the things that we're taught to, you know, walk around and not do. I call it the codependent playbook that we've all been like, you know, completely conditioned into following,
Right.
throwing that in the fire, you know. So there's so
Definitely.
many layers of all that we're talking about, and what is required of us as we really look at, oh my gosh, I really am complicit in this patriarchal system that is not empowering anybody, any of
Yeah.
us actually. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's
Yes.
a deep subject that we could talk about a long time, right?
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say our realness and our rawness is so, so needed. And dance, as well as crying or screaming into a pillow or, you know, these different things, dance is a really wonderful way to work with that. I know sometimes I've felt had things moving through, and I feel that if I can dance, if I can just shake it out, and maybe even if I, you know,
Exactly.
if I'm alone or it won't upset anybody, yet scream and yell during the dance, like really let it be a cathartic release of whatever that is that needs to be cleansed and purified. It's very powerful because that's like the full body being involved, you know.
Exactly. Like returning to our creature selves, you know, which we have been, it has been dampened. Call it returning to our wild creature selves. I mean, animals, you know, they shake it all off all the time. That's what they do it
Yes.
constantly. Go for a walk with a dog, and 20 times, my little grand dog, you know, 20 times in a 15-minute walk, she's full on shake all the way through her body. I'm like, learn from the animals, right?
Yes.
So, so I'd love to, have you speak into, Jocelyn, what alchemy is, and how can it help us to open to the greater gifts that the universe has been wanting to send us for some time now.
Yes. This is another one of my favorite subjects. So,
Yeah.
so alchemy is a very ancient practice that originated in ancient Egypt or possibly even earlier than ancient Egypt. Some people say that alchemy originated in the times of Atlantis, right? And we could have that could be a whole other conversation. So we won't go into that too much, but
Mhm. Yeah.
definitely came through the lineages of ancient Egypt, and from there spread to Greece and Rome and many other places around the world. Now, if you don't know a lot about alchemy, you might think of the alchemists as these people in the medieval times, these kind of mad scientist guys that were sitting in their lab
Right.
trying to turn lead into gold. And that was
Yeah.
one version. People did go off on that kind of tangent, but really the original way of that alchemy was created, and the way that we can work with it today is in a spiritual sense. We want to turn the lead of our experience, so the heaviest, densest aspects of what we're experiencing right now, into spiritual gold, right? Into
Right.
from, you know, from
Mhm.
heaviness and density into lightness and expansion, and from the lowest vibration into the highest frequency. And so the way that we can do that, there are many different ways to work with alchemy, but the way that I work with it with my clients and my students is that there are 7 stages of alchemy. Each
Mhm.
stage corresponds to a chakra. So we start at the root chakra, and this is with the densest, heaviest material, right? At the lower point of our body, right? And we move upward through each chakra, and there's a planet that corresponds to each chakra. And at each of these, starting with the root and the planet Saturn, we do different meditations, and we start with the intention of what is something that I deeply want to shift or change or transform in my life.
Mhm.
So this may be maybe somebody has a huge amount of debt that they want to clear. Maybe they somebody has a very difficult relationship with their spouse or with their parent, whatever it might be. Maybe I'm in a career that I hate and I know I need to shift this, but I don't know how to get out. And we can
Mhm.
start with something that seems like a very impossible situation. Like, I have no idea how I could possibly shift or change this, but I know I want to, so I'm ready to try. And
Mhm.
we begin working with that through meditative practices and embodiment practices in many different ways. And we move through these 7 stages of alchemy up through all the chakras. And what happens is beyond what you would ever anticipate. It's very, very miraculous.
Mm.
Because when we say this sacred yes to shifting this thing in our life that we have no idea in logical terms how to shift, and we
Mhm.
go in deeply, right? We go within, and we just allow the subconscious parts of ourselves that are clinging to that old way of being,
Mhm.
that are clinging to that old situation, to loosen their grip little by little. And we allow
Mhm.
new perspectives to come in. And we allow ourselves to open up to ways of receiving that are very different than what we've been able to do before. So by the time that we get to these upper chakras, we might have, so let's say we started with, I have a lot of debt that I need to get rid of. In the meantime, while we're working with all these things, we may have changed careers. We may have started a whole new relationship. We may have, like, all these different things will come in that you weren't even expecting. And in the
Mhm.
meantime, the original problem gets resolved in a very miraculous way. There's an alchemical prayer that I like to say that kind of sums up the whole process. And it's because through this process, we're really opening up to the universe to send us, and our guides and the divine to send us all the things that we didn't even know we needed, right? And help
Mhm.
us move forward on our path in that way. And so the prayer, the alchemical prayer that I love to say is, dear creator, or whoever you speak to in your prayers, right? Dear universe, dear creator, please send me all of the things that I didn't even realize that I needed,
Mhm.
right? To help me walk on forward on the truest path. And that's really what
Mhm.
happens through alchemy. So I've
Mhm.
led many, many students and clients through this process, and it's always amazing. It's always unexpected. It's always miraculous. But this is what's truly available to us now at this time, is much more rapid shifts and transformation than we, might have thought were possible before. And this is something that, I teach in the context of alchemy, but really in the wider collective right now. We're able to make these big leaps forward
Mhm.
that maybe
Right.
just 5 or 10 years ago would not have been possible. Definitely 100 years ago, it was just very, very different atmosphere, very different things available to us. And so, I say this with words of encouragement to everybody out there. If you are going through a situation that seems impossible right now, that seems very challenging or very difficult, or you don't know how you're going to move through it, trust, really, really trust that you're being put in this situation for a reason. There
Mhm.
are much bigger things, shifting all around you to help you through this. And stay with it. Do the best that you can. If you want to get into alchemy, I do highly recommend that. But even if you're not called to alchemy, really trust and know that you will be guided, and there is a way. There is a way. Even
Mhm.
the impossible is becoming possible more and more for us these days.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the things are so accelerated. The vibrations are so accelerated. As we all know, it's like what we imagine next week might be for all of us on some level. I think at least most of the people I talk to and my friends and family, it's like, are you serious? I had no idea that my life would be so different in this past week. I had this agenda that I thought might be happening, and often it's something that at first it feels like a breakthrough, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, like you were speaking, the universe is just like sending things that we wouldn't have necessarily in our own human brain, that is sometimes triggered and trying to lock down on things.
Yeah.
We open in that way, and it's like, whew, we just give the opportunity for the divine to move through us, really, like lightning almost. It's powerful work. Yeah. Thank you for your great description around that. So I'm looking at the time, Jocelyn, and you had mentioned that you'd be willing to lead us on a guided shamanic journey. Um, to discover our unique initiatory paths. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. Would it be
Good.
okay if I share an image during the journey? I would
Yeah.
love to share an image just to help us shift into a transformational space. So here, let me bring up this image here. And so this is the Milky Way, and I'll press share in 1 second here. And so, oh, I'm still not able to share.
Oh, I need to let you share? I
Oh,
can do that.
yes. I need
Okay.
permission from the host, it says.
Yes. I think you can do it now.
Okay, yes, now it's working. Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the Milky Way. And
Mm.
so beginning with this image here, I just invite everybody into a space of knowing that what is possible for you, what is available for you is much, much, much vaster than you can imagine at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And what is possible for all of us as a human collective moving forward out of 2020 now in this year 2021 and forward from this point, what is possible is so much vaster
Mm-hmm.
and more brilliant and miraculous than we could possibly imagine. So in this journey, I invite everyone to really dream into that space, right? This very expansive space that is full of potentials for our both our individual and our collective future. And so let's begin to drop in now. So you can either close your eyes or you can gaze lightly at this image, whichever you prefer. And let's just begin by taking a deep breath in, breathing in, filling your lungs with the magic and the miracle of oxygen and sunlight and all these beautiful elemental forces that surround us. Just breathing them in deeply. And hold that breath at the top. Just feeling the life force flow through your entire being. And then release that breath fully. And with the out breath, allow yourself to relax and allow your awareness to drop down out of the thinking mind and into your heart. And it may help to place a hand on your heart if you wish. And continue now breathing into your heart center, filling up your heart with every in-breath. And as we focus on the heart, it's important to know that our heart is a very, very important organ of our body. And it's so much more than just a pump that moves the blood throughout our circulatory system. The heart has been known by ancient culture since the beginning of time to be an organ that is actually connected to the cosmos and connected to the earth and all of the deep intelligence that these other beings, the earth and the planetary bodies and the sun and the moon, all this celestial intelligence that these cosmic beings hold, the heart has access to that. The heart also has access to our intuitive knowing and our deep ancestral knowing. So as you continue to breathe into the heart, let's just honor the heart for all the wisdom that is held here, all the vast layers of intelligence that are held here in your heart. And we can trust what our heart tells us. So continuing to breathe into the heart, I invite you to actually see yourself diving down into your heart, into this beautiful field of intelligence at the center of your being, connected to the cosmos, connected to the earth, holding all of your deep inner wisdom. Just dive into the heart. And maybe you'll see this as diving into a vast, pristine lake. Maybe you'll see another image. Whatever you see is fine. Just trust what you see. And as you dive into this heart field, you will feel your awareness and your perception shift and become much more vast and expansive. And you'll begin to see images and visions come forward of the future that we're longing to create. So allow these visions to flow in. Or maybe you don't see images, maybe you just have a knowing, or maybe you hear a voice. Whatever it is, trust. And you're receiving insights about where you're meant to go next, where you're meant to be, what you're meant to be doing in 5 years or 10 years. In a space of making your highest contribution to our collective future. So allow these knowings, these images of your future to flow in, and begin to see how what you'll be doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is having a tremendous positive impact on the people around you, positive impact for the earth, positive impact for all beings. And just take this in, just receive this. Now, once you've seen this vision of the future, just bring into your awareness the initiations that you're going through right now. And then you will be shown how these initiations, whatever is especially challenging and difficult for you at this moment, is actually guiding you directly in the most beautiful way possible toward this future state that you've just seen. So watch as these puzzle pieces fall into place, how the path you're on right now, the challenges you're facing right now, our collective challenges, how all this is perfectly designed to lead you to a place where you can offer your highest contribution in the future. Just take this in, let this flow through you. And as you become aware of this larger plan, just know that we are so deeply guided. We are so very protected at every step. And really allow yourself to enter into a space of complete trust in all that is happening at this time. honor yourself for the deep courage that you have to navigate all of this. And allow yourself to drop even deeper into a space of trusting and surrendering to all that needs to take place in order for you to be fully guided to your sacred purpose, to your highest contribution in this lifetime. Now, our heart is where courage and love and trust are centered in our body. So allow these feelings to grow very strong in your heart space. Courage and love and trust. And take a deep breath now into the heart, breathing in those qualities, allowing them to settle very firmly into your heart, into your entire being. And know that these qualities are here for you to turn to. So anytime you're feeling doubt, anytime you're feeling fear, or you just don't know what to do, come back to this space. Remember what you've been shown here today. Connect in with your heart. Know that your heart will always guide you on the highest path. So let's take one more deep breath into the heart space, breathing in deeply all of the oxygen and the sunlight and other beautiful elemental forces all around us. Hold that breath at the top and just allow this life force to flow expansively within your being. And then breathe out, releasing, trusting, surrendering more and more. You are so guided. You are so very protected. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and come back into this present moment here. Feel yourself right here, watching this video, part of this beautiful event. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Now, if you received important messages, which I imagine you did, go ahead and write them down. It's so important to, when we make these adventures into the dream space, into the imaginal realms, it's important to write down what we receive. Because there can be very important messages that come through, and it's quite a bit in the dream time, right? So they can be very fleeting. So important to write them down and remember them.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So good. Powerful. So I'm looking at the clock and knowing that we need to close pretty soon here. So yeah, that was a beautiful journey that you took us all on. I'm really happy. I will be writing notes down at the end of our interview. So I'd like to give you a chance, Jocelyn, to talk about your free gift, Venturing into the Great Cosmic Ocean. And listeners, you can see a link to Jocelyn's free gift for you on the page that you've entered into today to listen to this interview. So I'd love to hear you describe that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so this is a video workshop and a shamanic journeying practice, and it is called Venturing into the Great Cosmic Ocean, Awakening the Starry Knowledge Within You. So it's a journey out into the cosmos. We look at some of the sacred mythology of ancient Greece and ancient Egypt, and it is connected in with the alchemical process. So I'll speak a little bit in this workshop about alchemy and how we can connect in with these alchemical transformations in our lives. But it's a really beautiful journey of connecting with the stars and the vast potentials available to us. And so I think you'll really enjoy it. Yeah, can't wait for you all to experience that.
Wonderful. Great. I look forward to it. So, Jocelyn, do you have any final words or thoughts or anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to end us with here?
Sure. I just want to give encouragement to everybody that, those of us who have chosen to incarnate at this time, chosen to be alive at this time, we made that choice because we knew that we had the courage that it takes, right, to navigate these very turbulent waters of these times. And so I just want to invite everybody out there to really give yourself credit, honor yourself for the courage that you have, right?
Mhm.
And continue to trust, continue to surrender, know that we're in this together, right? We're in this vast initiatory process and we're never alone. We're so guided, we're so protected. And there are many, many, many of us that are navigating these waters together and holding space for the highest vibration, highest outcome. So
Yes.
take heart and have courage, and we're being guided towards something just more beautiful than we can even imagine.
I love that. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It's really lovely to be in our space together. It feels really uplifting and illuminating when we when we come together. So
Yes, I
thank you so
always
much.
love talking with you, Susan. Thank you
Love having-
so much.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I want to thank all the listeners for joining us today. And make sure to come back tomorrow for more wisdom, healing, and illumination. And we're wishing you all a light filled, ignited, illuminated rest of your day or evening. So bye for now.